other print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Bruce, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from recent issues of the Jamestown Post-Journal on the Niagara Frontier radio reading service from Thursday, July 16th of 2026. Two charged after recent Falconer Hotel incidents. Article by John Whitaker. Two people have been charged by Ellicott police after incidents at what police said is the Falconer Hotel over the past week. Caleb E. Delahoy, 18 of Falconer, was charged with secondary harassment, second-degree obstructing governmental administration, and disorderly conduct on July 13th at 12:50 p.m. after officers responded to a reported fight. Delahoy was allegedly outside of the Falconer Hotel, punching a person outside of the hotel's entrance. Delahoy will be in Ellicott Town Court later. On July 9th, Jonathan D. Sipes, 34 of Jamestown, was charged with secondary harassment and resisting arrest after officers responded to the hotel at 12:20 p.m. for a report of an unwanted subject at the hotel. Sipes allegedly threatened staff on site. Sipes was advised by officers on scene that he was under arrest, and Sipes then allegedly physically resisted officers. After a brief struggle, officers were able to place Sipes into custody without any further incidents. Sipes was taken to Chautauqua County Jail for centralized arraignment. Sipes is due to appear in the Ellicott Town Court later. Brandon Shelters, town code officer, said he is inspecting the hotel every week, and for most part, the hotel is in compliance. During the board's June meeting, Dan Engro, Ellicott Police Chief, said responses to the Quality Inn in Ellicott had increased by 22 from April to May. There was no update on call volumes to the hotel, according to the minutes from the Ellicott Town Board's July 7th meeting. Code violations prompted the town to close part of the Clarion Point Hotel on Route 60 in Ellicott, with the closure shifting some of the homeless who have been staying at the North Main Street Hotel into other hotels in the Ellicott Falconer area, including the Quality Inn and Budget Inn. In addition to closing a portion of the Clarion Point Hotel, the former Econo Lodge on Route 60 in Fredonia, which was also a contracted location the county was using to house some of its homeless, was shut down. County Social Services Department staff members are required to inspect properties where the homeless are being housed every 6 months. Local code enforcement officers can check them more frequently, as has been the case in Ellicott. Closing rooms the county had been using for homeless housing has forced the county to move some homeless county residents to Buffalo, Hamburg, and Cuba, New York, where the county also has contracts. County officials ideally want to move the individuals back to Chautauqua County when rooms become available, in part because of the cost to house individuals elsewhere. The county has to pay to transport those staying out of county back and forth to various appointments. Women ask court to compel evidence. Article by John Whitaker. A Lakewood woman is asking the state Supreme Court to compel the Southwestern Central School District to turn over video of an alleged incident in which the woman was injured. No lawsuit has yet been filed, only an attempt to require the district to provide information so that a claim can be filed before deadlines included in state law expire. Christy Sutzman and her attorney filed affidavits Friday asking the court to require the school district to turn over video evidence of an incident at Southwestern Elementary School where she was allegedly pushed from behind by a child in a school hallway. Stutzman said she fell and sustained several injuries, including a fractured wrist. Stutzman said district officials had confirmed the video exists, but that the video can't be released due to student privacy concerns. She is asking the court to require the district to provide any photos and videos from all cameras at Southwestern Elementary School for a 1-hour period from June 4th, blueprints of the school, and information she says her attorney needs in order to file a claim. Timothy Andrushut, Stutzman's lawyer, said a notice of claim can't be prepared without the required specifics, without the information from the district. Andrushut's affidavit also asks the district to provide the name and address of the student who was allegedly involved so the child's parents can be placed on notice of a potential homeowner's claim. The video will presumably allow petitioner to craft her notice of claim with the specificity required, including but not limited to the specific act of negligence attributed to school personnel, i.e., lack of sufficient number of supervising personnel at dismissal, failure to carry out duties of school employees at dismissal time, etc. Regarding the nature of the claim, Andrushut wrote in his affidavit, petitioner does not know who pushed her from personal observation, nor have any other independent observations regarding the incident. She was told a young male child struck her from behind but cannot swear under oath as to the requirements of state law, the nature of the claim. Andrushut also said Stutzman's needs the building blueprints to be able to describe where the incident took place. Andrushut said an incident report provided by the school district lists the cafeteria as the place where the accident took place, but Stutzman says she's certain the incident took place in a hallway, but she doesn't know the name of the hallway or how to describe it. Any claim of privilege made by respondents on the Buckley Amendment is misplaced, the attorney states. The Buckley Amendment was introduced to protect records relating to an individual student's performance without a demonstrated need for disclosure. It does not apply to records compiled to maintain the physical security and safety of the agency or institution. There is no alternative way to obtain any of the information sought in this petition. One of the big articles on the front page is Take Flight. Fundraiser for Fuller Memorial Flying Scholarship is Saturday. A fly-in, drive-in fundraiser for the Alan D. Fuller Memorial Flying Scholarship will be held Saturday, July 18th from 10 to 2 p.m. at the Chautauqua County Airport in Jamestown. And as of this reading, this will already have taken place. City Council discusses Chautauqua River Basin grant proposal. Article by Sarah Holthouse. The Department of Development's work to revitalize the Chautauqua River Basin continues, with the next step of the project looking to get some funding help through a grant from the Department of State. During Monday's City Council work session, Councilman Doug Schottmer, Democrat from Ward 4, and chair of the Council's Finance Committee, began the discussion with the overall City Council, saying that Jamestown is eligible to apply for environmental protection funds administered by the Department of State's Office of Planning, Development, and Community Infrastructure for a local waterfront revitalization program grant made available through the New York State Consolidated Funding application. This is something the city has also received in the past. Casey Falk, Deputy Director of Development, gave an overview of what the funds will be for to both the Finance Committee and the overall work session. In 2023, we got $2 million to do the south part of the basin, and moving forward with this funding, we will be able to complete the north part of the basin, Falk said. The application for this round of funding will also be for $2 million, according to Monday night's agenda, which also states that the city has been working to activate the Chautauqua River Basin as an active recreation space and community waterfront park in downtown Jamestown. The city and their partners are currently implementing Phase 1 of a multi-phase activation project on the south side of the basin, that includes improved dock at Panzarella Point, kayak launch, welcome signage, lighting, improved parking, and ADA improvements. Previously, we did a kayak launch and a dock over by Panzarella, so with the next round of funding, we will be able to complete the basin part of our Chattacoin plan, Falk said. The plan for the north side of the basin includes improvements such as signature gardens, tiered terrace seating, as well as improved access, circulation, safety, connectivity, and placemaking initiatives intended to create a unique destination for residents and visitors to the city. The resolution supporting the DoD's application for this funding was approved by the Council's Finance Committee Monday night. Wildfires expose millions in the Midwest and Northeast U.S. to dangerous smoke. Article by Durrani Panetta and Jacqueline Gunnan. Heavy smoke from several large wildfires blazing in Canada and Minnesota is expected to engulf large swaths of the Midwest and Northeast U.S. this week, exposing millions of people to dangerous air pollution. Minnesota officials issued an air quality alert from Tuesday through Friday for areas including the Twin Cities metro area, Alexandria, and two harbors, with very heavy smoke expected across the state's northeastern corner as large wildfires spread. Air quality levels in two harbors, the tribal nation of Grand Portage, and other regions in northeast Minnesota were expected to reach hazardous levels, making it unsafe for everyone. Dan Westervelt, associate professor at Columbia University's Climate School, said severe drought conditions combined with heat in Canada and the U.S. have created a perfect storm for really dry conditions to provide a lot of fuel for these wildfires to burn. Research shows warming temperatures from burning coal, oil, and gas are making fires more frequent and intense. People should stay indoors as much as possible to avoid the extreme heat, especially as smoke moves in, said Tyler Hastenstein, meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Chanhassen, Minnesota. Those two things coinciding with each other is not good from a health perspective, he said. Officials in Michigan and Wisconsin warned residents Tuesday about air quality issues that could last for days. High levels of fine particulate matter in the air from wildfire smoke may be unhealthy for sensitive groups, such as children and people with heart or lung conditions. In parts of Maine, residents were reporting a yellowish and brownish color in the sky. There is plenty of smoke upstream, so expect periods of hazy skies over the next day before the cold front pushes through, the National Weather Service in Gray, Maine, said on social media Tuesday. By Wednesday afternoon, intense smoke will spread into the East Coast and Midwest, including parts of the New England coast, northern Pennsylvania, Detroit, and Milwaukee, Hastenstein said. Multiple counties in western and central New York were under an air quality advisory Wednesday until midnight. The most intense smoke could spread as far south as Washington, D.C. by midday Thursday, Hastenstein said. Fine particle pollution from wildfire smoke can cause shortness of breath, coughing, dizziness or fatigue, and aggravate heart and lung diseases and other chronic health issues. Experts suggest reducing or eliminating outdoor activities, wearing an N95 mask if you have to be outside, and keeping your indoor air cleaner by closing windows and running an air purifier or air conditioner. Long-term exposure to fine particulate matter from wildfire smoke is one of the leading causes of premature death. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Jamestown Post-Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. House passes bill to ditch the switch and make daylight savings time permanent. Out of Washington, there will be no turning back the clock if the House has its way. The House passed a bill Tuesday that would make daylight savings time permanent. Proponents, including the White House, argued the change would provide more daylight during the times that Americans are most active. The vote was 308 to 117. Daylight savings time is that period between spring and fall when clocks in most parts of the United States are set 1 hour ahead of standard time. States could opt out if their respective legislatures act to do so before the bill's enactment. The Senate would also have to pass the bill before it could be signed into law, but it's unclear if it will do so. Representative Gus Bilirakis, Republican from Florida, said Americans are ready to ditch the switch, saying that changing the clock twice a year creates unnecessary disruption. More important, he said, it would give families more daylight time in the evening to spend outdoors and support local businesses. In my home state of Florida, where tourism is a cornerstone of our economy, having more predictable daylight hours is a practical improvement that benefits workers, businesses, and visitors alike, Bilirakis said. Detractors said permanent daylight savings time would lead to darker and potentially more hazardous winter mornings where children will be waiting for school buses and parents will be driving to work in darkness. Millions of Americans will wake up during the winter months in complete darkness, with the sun not rising until long after people get up and travel to work or school or have to go about their days, said Representative Mary Gay Scanlon, Democrat from Pennsylvania. Representative Jim McGovern, Democrat from Massachusetts, said he supported the bill, but he questioned whether it was the best way for Congress to be spending its time. For folks getting crushed by rent, groceries, utility bills, and health care costs, is this really the best the majority can do? McGovern said. Is this really the most pressing issue before the American people at this moment? A 2025 poll from the Associated Press, NORC Center for Public Relations Affairs Research, shows that if forced to choose, most Americans would prefer to keep that extra hour of daylight in the evening. If they had to choose one option for the entire country to use, more than half of the adults, 56%, prefer making daylight savings time permanent, with less light in the morning and more light in the evening. About 4 in 10 prefer standard time, with more light in the morning and less in the evening. The White House weighed in before the House vote, calling the Sunshine Protection Act a popular common sense reform and saying advisors would recommend the president sign the bill if it reaches his desk. Members of Congress have long been interested in the potential benefits and costs of daylight savings time since it was first adopted as a wartime measure in 1942. The Senate passed a bill 4 years ago to make daylight savings time permanent, but it stalled in the House. In the opinion section, city housing problem is driven by an economy problem. It is little secret that affordable housing in Jamestown is a problem, though in recent years the affordable housing crunch has shown up most publicly in the number of people being housed in hotels and motels throughout the county. So it is little surprise why documentary photographer Karen Lipowitz would want to spend time in the city as part of her newest project, Extended Stay. Work on the exhibit will cross 13 states and 30 cities across Appalachia from New York to Mississippi, starting earlier this week with a 2-day stop in Jamestown. The project will document what Lipowitz described as America's shadow housing system and the people relying on temporary rooms, long-term stays, shelters, and other unstable arrangements as permanent housing costs continue to increase. The project will culminate in a large-scale immersive exhibition in Huntington, West Virginia, planned for October of 2027. We can certainly understand why Jamestown is a stop on Lipowitz's tour. Jamestown is part of an unfortunate group of cities that have struggled from having a glut of housing 2 decades ago, albeit a glut driven by poorly maintained, dilapidated housing stock at the lower end of the market. to a shortage of affordable housing now as poor units are demolished at the same time as rents skyrocketed. We would almost prefer if the situation was as simple as too many demolitions locally with not enough infill housing happening quickly, creating a short-term gap. In a high poverty area like ours, the increase in housing prices is so far outpacing household incomes that emergency housing costs paid by the county have skyrocketed too. The knowledge that we aren't alone dealing with a housing shortage and that too many are living in temporary housing is frustrating. The housing situation Lipowitz describes in her travels and that she sees to further document throughout Appalachia won't be remedied quickly because it's not just a housing problem. In our opinion, what's happening to the housing market is as much about the economy as it is housing supply. We need to build affordable housing, but we need to build a local economy that lessens the number of city residents living in poverty by increasing household incomes. What Leibowitz is capturing in Jamestown and other cities is a struggling Appalachian economy. She's just doing it through the lens of housing. Today in history, a Navy band plays a greeting for Major John Glenn Jr. as he taxis his F-8 UI Crusader to a stop at Floyd Bennett Field in New York on July 16, 1957. The record flight, called Operation Bullet, was conducted as a test of the Crusader's sustained capability at near maximum power over long distance. Today is Thursday, July 16th, the 190th day of 2026. There are 168 days left in the year. Today in history, on July 16th, 1945, the United States detonated its first experimental atomic bomb in the desert of Alamogordo, New Mexico. The same day, the heavy cruiser USS Indianapolis left Mare Island Naval Shipyard in California on a secret mission to deliver atomic bomb components to Tinian Island in the Marianas. Also on this date, in 1790, a site along the Potomac River was designated the permanent seat of the United States government. The area became Washington, D.C. In 1862, Flag Officer David G. Farragut became the first Rear Admiral in the United States Navy. In 1951, the novel The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger was first published by Little, Brown and Company. In 1957, Marine Corps Major John Glenn set a transcontinental speed record by flying a Vought F-8U Crusader jet from California to New York in 3 hours, 23 minutes, and 8.4 seconds. In 1964, as he accepted the Republican presidential nomination in San Francisco, Barry M. Goldwater declared that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice, and that modernation is the pursuit of justice is no virtue. In 1969, Apollo 11 launched from Cape Kennedy in Florida on the first manned mission to the surface of the moon. In 1999, John F. Kennedy Jr. and his wife Carolyn and her sister Lauren Bissett died when their single-engine plane, piloted by Kennedy, plunged into the Atlantic Ocean near Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. In 2004, Martha Stewart was sentenced to 5 months in prison and 5 months of home confinement by a federal judge in New York for lying about a stock sale. In 2008, Florida resident Casey Anthony, whose 2-year-old daughter Kaylee had been missing a month, was arrested on charges of child neglect, making false official statements, and obstructing a criminal investigation. Casey Anthony was later acquitted at trial of killing Kaylee, whose skeletal remains were found in December of 2008. Casey was convicted of lying to police. In 2015, a jury in Centennial, Colorado, convicted James Holmes of 165 counts of murder, attempted murder, and other charges in the 2012 Aurora movie theater rampage that left 12 people dead. In 2017, 10 people died at a popular swimming hole in Arizona's Tonto National Forest after a rainstorm unleashed a flash flood. In 2018, after meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, President Donald Trump openly questioned the finding of his own intelligence agency that Russia had meddled in the 2016 U.S. election to his benefit. Trump said a day later that he misspoke. Today's birthdays: International Tennis Hall of Famer Margaret Court is 84. Violinist Pinchas Zuckerman is 78. Actor-singer Reuben Blades is 78. Rock composer-musician Stuart Copeland is 74. Playwright Tony Kushner is 70. Dancer Michael Flatley is 68. Former actor and teen model Phoebe Cates is 63. Actor Daryl Chill Mitchell is 61. Actor-comedian Will Ferrell is 59. Football Hall of Famer Barry Sanders is 58. Actor Corey Feldman is 55. Actor Jamal Mays is 47. Retired soccer star Carly Lloyd is 44. Actor Annalyn McCord is 39. Actor-singer James Maslow, Big Time Rush, is 36. Actor Mark Indelicato is 32. Pop singer-musician Luke Hemmings, his 5 Seconds to Summer, is 30. South Dayton voters reject dissolving village. The village of South Dayton is here to stay, for now at least. In a vote held Tuesday, 78 opposed the idea of dissolution, while 55 were in favor. If residents in the village had approved the vote, all assets would eventually been turned over to the town of Dayton. The failed vote means a dissolution process may not be initiated again for at least 4 years. There have been 4 successful village dissolutions in Cattaraugus County since 2009, according to the Cattaraugus County GIS page. On January 1st, 2009, Limestone was absorbed into the town of Carrollton. On January 1st, 2012, the village of Perrysburg was absorbed into the town of Perrysburg. On January 1st, 2012, the village of Randolph was absorbed into the town of Randolph. On January 1st of 2012, East Randolph was absorbed into the towns of Conewango and the town of Randolph. The former village was split between the 2 towns. According to the 2020 census, the village of South Dayton has 541 residents. The village is situated in the southwest corner of the town of Dayton and covers 1 square mile. Other incorporated villages in Cattaraugus County include Allegheny, Cattaraugus, Delavan, Ellicottville, Franklin, Gowanda, Little Valley, and Portville. During the same time period, there have been 2 village dissolutions in Chautauqua County. The village of Cherry Creek dissolved into the town of Cherry Creek in 2017, and the village of Forestville into the town of Hanover in 2016. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Jamestown Post-Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. South and Center Sewer District to raise rates. Article by Gregory Bacon. For the first time in 25 years, residents who live in the South and Center Sewer District will be having to pay more. Tom Walsh, the director of the South and Center Sewer District, attended the Chautauqua County Legislature's Public Facilities Committee meeting where he announced that rates are going up. The last time we raised the rates was in 2001, he said, adding that in 2015 they standardized the rates. In 2023, Walsh said they did a Phase 1 sewer extension, which was $930 a year. Phase 2 was recently completed. Walsh said the rates for both Phase 1 and Phase 2 will now be $856 annually for operation and maintenance. Walsh said customers will now pay $424 a year. That's an increase of about $70, he said. Walsh said new regulations by the state are partly behind the latest increase. He also noted that some chemicals have increased as much as 100%. Still, Walsh felt the increase as reasonable. I mean, it is $17 a quarter, he said. Walsh also said their rates are still lower than the North Lake Sewer District. We're still $100 less than them, he said. After his presentation, the Public Facilities Committee unanimously approved the resolution for the new rates. The full legislature still has to vote at its meeting on Wednesday, July 22nd. Should the full legislature give the final approval, the new rates are expected to take place and take effect August 1st. Speaking for my peers, JPS welcomes new student board members. The Jamestown Public School Board of Education welcomed 2 new ex officio members to their roles during the body's annual reorganization meeting. Rising Jamestown High School seniors Olivia Anderson and Olivia Remington will serve as student members of the Board of Education during the 25-26 school year. The students' appointments comes by virtue of their role as public relations officers for the JHS Kappa Alpha Tau chapter of the National Honor Society. Everything we do centers around our students, and over the past 8 years, having student representatives sit on the Board of Education has built invaluable bridges between our youth and board leadership, said Paul Abbott, board president. I am thrilled to welcome Olivia and Alivia this school year and eager to collaborate with them. Their involvement sends an important message. Students not only have a voice, they're encouraged to use it. I hope their presence reminds all JHS students that they are always welcome at our meetings. Anderson is a member of the Jamestown High School Concert Band and serves as section leader for the marching band's pit and drum line. The daughter of Eric and Mary Grace Anderson, she also plays percussion in the pit orchestra for school musicals and serves in public relation roles for student government, concert band, and the National Honor Society. Being a Board of Education representative means speaking for my peers at JHS and relaying their interests and concerns to the board members, she said. I know that many, if not every student, has their own thoughts and opinions on many topics, and it's important to me that they get heard. Remington is a member of the concert band and has performed in the musical pit orchestra for the past 2 years. The daughter of Michelle Remington and Jason Flasher, she is also a member of the varsity softball team and Key Club, serves as co-public relations officer to student government and the National Honor Society, and assists as a coach for the Jamestown High School junior varsity girls basketball team. I wanted to serve as a BOE rep because last year one of my best friends was a co-representative, and it seemed like he was really making a difference in sharing the voice of students. She said, I want to help make the same difference. This opportunity means that not only can I share my voice, but can help make the student opinion louder when it comes to the school that they attend. It's a great chance for me to grow my leadership skills and really put the student opinions out there. During the reorganization meeting, District Clerk Rhonda Frank also swore in board members who had been reelected during the May budget vote and Board of Election Paul Abbott, Christina Schnars, and Carmela Proctor. Abbott and Joseph Paluski were reelected unanimously as board president and vice president. New comptroller wades into Dunkirk fiscal woes. Article by M.J. Stafford. Dunkirk's new controller debuted this week at Common Council Finance Committee meeting. The city's seemingly endless flow of bad financial news splashed at her feet. Tracy Smith Dangler received her City Hall keypad, then sat down and took in the latest reports, saying nothing. Nick Weiser, councilman at large, who chairs the Finance Committee, introduced her. Thank you for your willingness to step into this, he said. We're really looking forward to having you on board and sharing your expertise. Smith Dangler returned the warm welcome, but had nothing else to say beyond that. She understandably chose to take on observational role in her first city meeting. Most of the news she heard underlined the massive fiscal challenge that the city continues to face. Fire Chief Nick Barter wants a new ambulance, which would cost about $287,000. No one seems to know how the cash-strapped city would pay for it. There were also police department complaints about heavy overtime, which is underfunded. It came out that the police department has had officers on the books who have not actually worked, evidently due to health reasons, for as much as 4 years. The overall city financial status report from Fiscal Affairs Officer Ellen Lukowiak added to the gloominess. Lukowiak mildly disparaged her own report, stating that crazy IT issues hindered it. On paper, it looks like expenses are exceeding revenues. However, some of our wastewater revenue hasn't posted yet, she said. The technology issues relate to the city's month-long installation of its new GovSense model, which is supposed to streamline its financial record-keeping. However, Lukowiak said it's still in the sandbox, if you will, to make sure everything is appropriate. Mayor Kate Widwadiaz chimed in that city workers are still loading account receivables and payable into the new system. Going from an old archaic system like we have to GovSense is harder than anticipated, Lukowiak said. She called it a huge endeavor. The Fiscal Affairs Officer also renewed her call for an earlier tax collection date as a way to help cash flow earlier in the year. City property taxes are currently due May 1st. The months of January through April are so tight it's scary when it comes to city finances, Lukowiak said. I'd hate to have us look at borrowing for a temporary thing like that, she said. Former councilwoman Nancy Nichols, still a familiar figure at City Hall, despite losing a re-election race in November, criticized Lukowiak's idea. By bumping up city taxes, you're going to put a lot of people under a lot of stress, noting that Chautauqua County taxes are due in February. Nichols stated there are other ways of generating funds. For $140,000 per year, City Hall hopes Smith Dangler can help with that. The new comptroller's salary finally was reported at Monday's meeting after weeks of uncertainty. Nichols criticized that too. You found that $140,000, but you can't find a half-year salary for a police officer, she said. If City Assessor Erica Munson is correct, Depew's revenue crunch will get even more severe in 2027. She reported that due to changes in tax exemptions approved in the latest New York State budget, the city could lose up to 1.5% of its previous property tax revenue next year. One glimmer of good news: for the first time in memory, the city may be on the way to up-to-date auditing. Lukowiak said auditors were in City Hall recently seeking information on 25 finances, and hopefully everything is going well and we'll get that on time. Clerk Treasurer Amy Dobeck missed the Finance Committee meeting. Lukowiak said Dobeck is very short-staffed and working on filling in those gaps. The Clerk Treasurer's office recently reduced the hours that it is open to the public. Besides Weiser, the only council person at the meeting was Gary Fredrickson. 4 charged with endangering welfare of children. 4 Jamestown residents have been charged with endangering the welfare of a child. Officers working on a Strive domestic violence detail at 10 p.m. Tuesday checked the well-being of those living in an East Side home and found 4 children living in deplorable and unsanitary conditions. Facing charges are Natalie B. Frost, 21, Sincere R. Fisher, 22, Justin M. Heiser, 23, and Brianna M. Heiser, 26. Frost is charged with 3 counts of second-degree criminal contempt and 4 counts of endangering the welfare of a child. And Fisher is charged with second-degree criminal contempt and 4 counts of endangering the welfare of a child. Brianna Heiser and Justin Heiser are each charged with 4 counts of endangering the welfare of a child. All 4 were taken into the city jail until they could be arraigned. JCC Golf Classic raises more than $15,000. From Ellicottville, the 34th annual JCC Golf Classic raised more than $15,000 to support student scholarships and opportunities at SUNY Jamestown Community College campuses. The JCC Golf Classic continues to be a great tradition because of the generosity of our sponsors, golfers, and volunteers, said Katrina Leak, JCC's Developmental and Alumni Relations Coordinator. Every dollar raised helps create opportunities for our students, and we're grateful for everyone who continues to invest in the event's success. The field of competitors included 136 golfers and 34 teams, with winning foursomes recognized in men's and women's and mixed divisions. The men's division champions were Scott Bretchbull, Jason Honig, Matt Com, and Rich Sikora. Haley Dubia, Lauren Farella, Kathleen McMully Taylor, and Alicia Spontaneo captured the women's title, while Marcy Derby, Jim Gustafson, Sonia Gustafson, and Al Johnson won the mixed division. Putting contest winners were Mike Bird, Carl Holmes, Tom Moyer, and Brenda Threehouse. Closest to the pin winners were Kathy McMurray Taylor, Hagan Edwards, Mike Moyer, Mark Ross, and Tom Yantankso. Colin Megan recorded the longest drive in the men's competition, while Samantha Sacheri won the women's longest drive contest. Sponsors included Allen's Wine and Liquor, Cattaraugus County Bank, Chautauqua Medical Aesthetics, Chautauqua Patrons Insurance Company, Christie's Boutique, Courier Capital, Cutco, Fitzpatrick and Weller, Fox Financial, Go-To Meals, Great Lakes Cheese, Headley Brook Agency, Howard Hanna Professionals, Independent Health, In Tandem, J. Hazlitt Contracting LLC, Jacobs Marketing, Jamestown Plastics, JCC President's Office, Jim Rao Enterprise Prizes LLC, Lakeside Medical Practice PLLC, Lind Funeral Home, Mazza Mechanical Services, Napoleon Engineering Services, Palumbo and Bertrand, PA, PhilPack, The Post-Journal, Register Graphics, RPJ Ready Print, Seneca Gaming Corporation, Schultz Auto Group, SKF USA, Southern Tier Brewing Company, Steve Swanson, Stewart Tool and Die, Inc., Tasta Pizza, Universal Primary Care, Weinberg Financial Group, and the Willow Bridge Group at Morgan Stanley. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Jamestown Post-Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The Chautauqua County Fair is back. Beginning Tuesday, July 21st through Sunday, July 26th, our fair will welcome the public back with midway rides by Amusements of America, grandstand events every night, delicious fair food, animal exhibits, and shows and entertainment for all. Advanced sale tickets will go on sale at our local outlets on Monday, June 15th through for $10 cash. Credit card sales plus current credit card fees. 3 and under are free. Unless they are riding rides, then they will have to have a ticket. Tickets will include gate admission, mechanical rides, and grandstand seating, with the exception of the Demolition Derby. Advanced sale tickets will be on sale through Monday, July 20th. Advanced sale tickets can be purchased at any of these locations: in Angola, Tops Friendly Markets; Asheville, the Asheville General Store; Bemis Point, Interlakes FCU; Brockton, Village of Brockton, Ahira Hall Memorial Library; Casadega at Witt's Convenience and Valley Outdoors; Clymer, Southern Chautauqua FCU; in Cherry Creek, Southern Chautauqua FCU; in Dunkirk, the Chautauqua County Fair Office, First Ward Falcon Club, Kosciuszko Club, One Stop Food Mart, Tops Friendly Markets, Tractor Supply Center, VFW John Murray Post, Greater Chautauqua FCU, Inner Lakes FCU, Save-A-Lot, Jenna's Cafe, Campy's Pizza, Southern Chautauqua FCU. In Falconer, the Greater Chautauqua FCU and Tops Friendly Markets. Forestville, Caves Food Center. In Fredonia, Inner Lakes FCU, Fresh and Fancy Florists, Tuscany Fresh Meats and Deli, and SUNY Fredonia FCU. In Frewsburg, Tops Friendly Markets. Irving, Add Lumber True Value. In Jamestown, 4-H, Tops Friendly Markets, Washington Street and Foote Avenue, Greater Chautauqua FCU, and Southern Chautauqua FCU. In Lakewood, Tractor Supply Center, Cummins, or Southern Chautauqua FCU. In Mayville, Greater Chautauqua FCU, Tops Friendly Markets. In Ripley at Meter's Restaurant. Silver Creek at Tops Friendly Markets, Save-A-Lot, and Inner Lakes FCU. In Sinclairville, the Sinclairville Superette. South Dayton at the South Dayton Super Duper. Westfield, Tops Friendly Markets, Westfield Diner, and Interlakes FCU. Tickets are also available online and can be bought by going to www.chautauquacofair.org/admission with the exclamation point. Demolition Derby will also go on sale to the public on Monday, June 15th, only at the fair office. The ticket will include gate admission, rides, and assigned seat in the grandstand. Demolition Derby prices are rows A through N, $17, cash, $17.44, credit or debit card. O through CC is $14, credit card sales plus current credit card fees through July 20th. July 21st through 26th, Demolition Derby prices will be $22 in cash for A through N and $19 for O through CC. Senior citizen ticket prices are only available at the gate for $9 cash. No advance sale price. Weekly fair ticket, which includes admission, rides, and grandstand, except for the Demolition Derby, bleachers only, are $50 each through July 20th. Gate admission July 15th through the 20th is $15 cash, which includes admission, rides, and grandstand, except Demolition Derby. Ages 3 and under are free unless they go on rides or sit in the grandstand. Then children will need a ticket. The Chautauqua County Fair has been a fun family event for over 140 years. The fair combines farming, food, and fun. Don't miss out on this event for all ages. Area police reports from Ellicott Police. Fabriana Wright, 28 of Jamestown, was charged with petty larceny and 2 counts of endangering the welfare of a child on July 3rd at 4:45 p.m. after Ellicott Police responded to a shoplifting complaint. It's alleged Wright took merchandise belonging to Target while having a 6-month-old and a 13-year-old present with her. Wright was reportedly found a short distance from the store in a vehicle. Wright was processed and released to be in Ellicott Town Court later. Noah L. Williams, 22 of Jamestown, was charged with driving while ability impaired by drugs, speed in zone, driving on shoulder of roadway, and consumption of cannabis in a motor vehicle on July 2nd at 5:08 p.m. after officers pulled the vehicle over for allegedly speeding, failing to maintain lane, and driving on the shoulder of the road. Williams was allegedly driving while under the influence of a drug. Williams was issued traffic tickets and taken to the Chautauqua County Jail for centralized arraignment. Williams will be in Ellicott Town Court later. Mitchell A. Costanzo, 32 of Frewsburg, was charged with fourth degree criminal mischief, second-degree unlawful imprisonment, second-degree harassment, driving while intoxicated with a BAC of 0.08% or more, third-degree aggravated unlicensed operation, and driving on a sidewalk, on July 2nd at 10:04 a.m. after officers responded to a reported domestic dispute in progress. It's alleged Costanzo drove to a person's house and blocked the driveway with his vehicle in a way that the other person could not leave to get away from him. Costanzo allegedly engaged in a physical altercation with the person and damaged property belonging to the other person. Through investigation, officers determined that Costanzo allegedly operated the vehicle while intoxicated and with a revoked driver's license. Costanzo was taken to the Chautauqua County Jail for centralized arraignment and issued traffic tickets. Costanzo will be in Ellicottville Town Court later. Susan M. Bandley, 45 of Jamestown, was cited for passing a traffic light on red improper right turn at intersection, failed to keep right and disobeyed traffic control device, and was charged with driving while intoxicated, aggravated DWI-BAC of 0.18% or higher on July 5th after officers pulled the vehicle over on Dunham Avenue in Celeron. Bandley will be in Ellicott Town Court later. On trial, Jordan J. Cook, 21 of Falconer, was charged with secondary harassment, endangering welfare of a child, and fourth-degree criminal mischief on July 12th after officers responded to domestic dispute in progress, where it is alleged Cook struck a person in the face and damaged property in the home while the other person was holding a child. Cook was taken to the Chautauqua County Jail and will be in Ellicott Town Court later. Jamestown Police. 2 Jamestown residents were charged with second-degree criminal trespass at 5:44 a.m. Wednesday after officers responded to a condemned residence on the city's east side for a report of a trespass. Officers were able to locate 2 individuals inside of the residence that displayed a visible sign stating that the home was condemned by the Jamestown Department of Development. Destiny N. Contreras, 27, and Brian J. Irwin, 35, both of Jamestown, were charged and taken to the city jail until they could be arraigned. Edwin M. Santos, 63 of Jamestown, was charged with first-degree criminal contempt at 10:28 p.m. Tuesday after officers pulled a vehicle over on East 7th Street near Lincoln Street for alleged moving and equipment violations. Santos, a passenger in the vehicle, allegedly have an active stay-away order of protection with the driver of the vehicle. Santos was charged and taken to the city jail until he could be arraigned. The charge is a felony after a conviction for second-degree criminal contempt within the last 5 years. Christopher S. Harberberger, a 41-year-old homeless individual, and Delbert M. Clark, a 58-year-old homeless individual, faced charges after allegedly damaging several BPU utility poles. Harberberger is charged with third-degree criminal mischief, possession of burglar's tools, second-degree criminal tampering, and fifth-degree conspiracy, while Clark is charged with fifth-degree criminal possession of stolen property and fifth-degree conspiracy. Officers were dispatched to the area of Lakeview Avenue and Buffalo Street at 11:58 a.m. Tuesday for a report of a man cutting ground wires from several BPU utility poles. Both were taken to the city jail until they could be arraigned. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from recent issues of the Jamestown Post-Journal. We read from the Jamestown Post-Journal every Saturday at 6 p.m. Your reader has been Bruce. Thank you for listening, and as always, make it a great day.
Coming up next on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the Niagara Falls Review. At 8 o'clock, we have Off Duty from the Wall Street Journal. And at 9 o'clock, we have Sports Illustrated. Stay with us for these readings and more. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability,